Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Face the Truth. This is episode 19, if you can believe it. I can't believe how fast that went. I hope everyone's enjoying it so far and enjoying the guests. If you have any suggestions or possible guests that you would like to see on here, please feel free to let me know at facethetruthpodcast@gmail.com. I'd like to give a quick shout out to WACOM for sponsoring the podcast and believing in my vision for this thing right from the beginning. I'm a supporter of them as well, and definitely encourage any of you out there listening who want to get into digital painting and want to create high quality work to use the best equipment out there, WACOM. They offer amazing tablets as well as Cintiqs. I personally recommend the Cintiq or the Mobile Studio Pro, as I prefer working directly on the screen. I also want to thank Adobe for being super cool and offering free 1-year subscriptions to the listeners of this podcast. Gee, I wonder how I could win one of those. Hint, hint. We'll work on that. I've got some great guests coming up that I know everyone will enjoy. The next one is fine artist oil painter Nicholas Uribe. I'm genuinely a fan of his work and can't wait to talk with him about his life and his work. And the week after that will be the one and only illustrator legend CF Payne. Chris was a big time influence to me when I was first starting out and continues to do amazing work, inspiring so many artists today. He's done it all. I'm really looking forward to that. That'll be really cool. Been keeping busy myself, which is good. I currently have a couple projects that I'm working on now that are a little out of my wheelhouse, as they say. I can't share anything yet, but I'll be sharing that as soon as possible. Also, just a quick announcement. I get asked all the time about my courses or what I teach, or if I do teach and that sort of a thing. And yes, I do. I teach 2 online courses for schoolism.com. My next class on drawing and painting realistic portraits starts April 29th. And the way that works, there's a one-on-one option where I work one-on-one with the student, and I look at their work, I critique the work, we talk about it, we work back and forth, and that's the version where I think people really get a lot out of it. There's also a subscription version, which is cool, where you can kind of take it at your own pace, but you don't get any feedback from me. So that's the difference between the 2 versions. And I have a caricature illustration course that I've been teaching for about 10 or 11 years or something like that. It's a class that covers everything from anatomy, likeness, exaggeration, illustration, how to compose your characters together in a scene, and all that kind of stuff. And that class one starts June 10th. And look forward to seeing you guys there. My guest this week is an amazing artist and person. He's been working in the visual arts in Nashville, Tennessee for over 40 years. While sculpture is his primary medium, he also works in painting, photography, and graphic design. His work resides in both private and public collections all over the world and has been published in international media. Among hundreds of honors, Buddy won 2 Grammy Awards for album cover art and design. I enjoyed talking with him and especially enjoyed hearing about his process on both his paintings and sculpture. With great respect, please welcome Buddy Jackson. Cool. All right, man. We're rolling. Buddy fucking Jackson. Thank you for being on the podcast, man.
Yeah, man. Glad to be here.
Yeah, this is awesome. I have for years heard so much legend about your house. And so I kind of finally see a little bit of it. And I can see a little bit of the what people kind of described to me. But I've heard from so many different people. Have you seen Buddy's house? Like, yeah, I mean, literally, it's been like this, at least 10 people. So you have some kind of a legend going on there. Someone told me that you've got like a tree growing through your house or some weird thing, and or some kind of organic something where you're like, I'm just letting it happen. The way I don't know. I told you it's legends. I'm hearing legends about your house.
It's really funny. Like. So many people, like, we'll get together and there'll be like 30 people at a party, and people say like, oh, how did you guys meet? Like it'd be Corey Chisel and whoever. Yeah. And they say, how'd you guys meet? And they'd say, oh, we met at Buddy's house. Yeah. And I don't do quite so many. I used to have parties literally about 6 a year. Yeah. And they were big parties and limited guest lists, so we could keep, because famous people were coming too, so we were keeping paparazzi out and all that kind of stuff, and and I just wanted to create this environment where people could just fucking be themselves. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it just turned into this thing, and God, probably the last party I had 80 people here, and but it is really funny that this really large circle of people, that if you really sat down and interrogated them, you'd realize they all met at my house at one point or another.
I got to go sometime, because I mean, I haven't been to Nashville. I haven't been back there for a while now, but I definitely I gotta come down there and hang out, man. I gotta see it for myself.
Well, you got a bedroom here anytime, man.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Man, so I'm so excited to have you on, because you are like you're in what I would consider, in the truest sense, a pure artist, because you dabble in everything, you know, and not just that, but you're great at it, you know, like you're sculpting. I've got some examples that I want to kind of talk about, just because I'm just curious to hear like stories about them or whatever. But yeah, your sculptures, paintings, your photography is amazing. I still someday I want to do a painting based off of some of your photography, because just the lighting and everything is so awesome, and the poses and everything, very inspiring. But I'm curious from, you know, I don't, you know, we've met a couple times, but I don't know you super well. But I'm just curious about, what was your first artistic passion in, like, you know, how'd you get started in that?
I was born to do art. It's really odd. My grandfather was he did signs to make a living. And he hand lettered these signs that would blow. I could just sit and watch him for hours. Like,
oh, that's awesome.
He would like turn those curves on those zeros, on the O's, and I would just be like, "That you can't do that," you know, like
yeah.
How they can. And but he was he actually professed himself as a sign designer. He actually would do the execution, but he designed these big neon signs from the 50s and stuff like that. His father, my great-grandfather, was a artist, and he was a traveling portrait artist in the late 1800s, and he would go town to town, kind of a vagabond. He'd go to town and convince wealthier citizens that they needed. Kind of photography was in its birth, but it wasn't easily accessible. So portrait artists still had a way to make a living, and he ended up doing a portrait, being hired by a local Knoxville, Tennessee doctor to do a portrait of his daughter, and they fell in love. And of course, the dad was like, "No way, you're going to marry this fucking vagabond," and they snuck off, and that was my great-grandmother and great-grandfather, and the portrait that he did of her still exists in the family.
Oh, cool.
I didn't get hold of it. My fucking sister did. We still fight over it, but is profanity's cool on this? Is like,
yeah, that's real talk.
Okay, and then but anyway, I have several of the paintings that he did, but once he got married and started popping out children, he got a more respectable job doing science. And so that's kind of the history of that. So
you basically grew up around art then, and just started, you know, sounds kind of similar to my childhood, actually. So just it's funny they were talking about the sign thing. I never met my great grandfather. He's from England, and he was a sign, not a sign, but he was like a letter. He would do the lettering for the newspaper, like he would do like the titles in for the London newspaper and stuff. So he was like really amazing at calligraphy. And my dad never met him. So it's kind of interesting that we have that connection, you know, just, I don't even know how far back it goes, you know, of people like my grandmother's an artist and a musician as well. and that was her father. So it's kind of cool, you know. It's cool when that comes through, you know. Like even I'm sure with your kids, you got, you know, I don't know if they're into art and everything as well, but it's cool when you can see that happening, you know. Like even with right now, I've got a baby, and I'm already like the girl is obsessed. She's a year and a half, and she's obsessed with music, and it's just great, you know. Yeah, I love it. It's just like natural, you know.
I have one son. He's grown, and a grandson, and my son was always interested in art. However, he'll kill me for saying this, but he always had this kind of cloud, you know, like I was always this, you know, like what do they call it, big fish in the small pond, you know, like I did well in Nashville, but outside of Nashville there wasn't a whole lot going on. But I think that was always a burden that kind of hung over his head, that he would do a sculpture and he would be like, oh, it's not as good as Dad's or whatever. And
oh yeah,
I just could never beat that out of him. Like, you should have seen this shit I was doing when I was your age, you know, like,
yeah,
it's crap. But he, his passion is, we also have very strong ADD tendencies in the family, but his passion right now is old typewriters. And he collects, he probably owns about 50 of them.
Oh, wow.
Old analog typewriters. And he's a brilliant guy. He's way smarter than I am tech-wise and all this kind of stuff. And he literally, he buys these things for $5. He takes them apart, and they are very, very, very complex machines. Takes them apart, cleans them out, gets all the nicotine stain and dust out of them, and they look like brand new machines. It's really phenomenal. What he's going to end up doing with them, who knows? So
he's like restoring them and everything.
Restoring them, yeah.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And the ones that are past restoring, he customizes. So he'll paint them, you know, or have them copper plated or whatever.
Yeah, I bet you he could sell those for pretty good, man. I mean, I bet you people are all into like the retro stuff, you know.
I think he'd do well with it, but he's at this point all he wants is like those magnifying glasses on. He's really a mad scientist when it comes to it.
That's funny. My kids don't even know what a typewriter is.
He shouldn't. But,
yeah. It's funny. You know, I love those. There's I don't know what you're doing them with. Those small little. It looks almost like they're pastel paintings. They're like old family photos that you're kind of recreating. What are you using for those? Actually, I want to show some of them. Here, let me share screen real quick.
Do you have them, or you want me to go grab them?
No, I got some here. So yeah, how are you doing these? Like, what's your technique? These are I've found a few on your Facebook page, but man, I really love the style and the take on these. They have like a very timeless feel to them. It just reminds me of like some kind of French impressionistic type stuff, but they're really awesome, man.
Thank you so much. They have been so much fun, and I think the connection that, you know, not all of the people that are in the photographs do I know, but I mean, like the one you're showing right now, that's my great grandmother and great grandfather and my great uncles and their wives.
Yeah,
there were 9 boys in that family, and you know, basically what happened as people in my family. I mean, with 9 boys, it's a big family, and as people would pass away, and as typical families do, they'd get and argue over, I want this piece of furniture and I want that piece of furniture. And I would always just say, I want the photographs.
Yeah.
That's all I want. I just want all the photographs. So I've ended up with probably, I don't know, 500 to 1,000 of these incredible black and white photographs done, you know, Brownie Kodak Brownie cameras, and and that's the thing. And then, you know, it gives me the opportunity to go through these hundreds of images and cull the ones that speak to me on some level.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of copy them. I add my own color. I add my own, you know, twist to them.
Yeah, there's such a it's just I have not really seen anything quite like the style. I think it's just really cool. There's such a life to it and an energy to it too. Like this piece here, it's almost like you can like see like the wind blowing their dresses or something. There's like so much nice movement, but yet there's still, you know. And I just love your aesthetic and your taste of just how you're approaching these pieces. They're really cool.
Thanks so much. I'm really just having fun with them, and like, you know, it's one of those deals that a watercolor instructor taught me back in college. He said, if you really want to learn watercolor, do 12 of them. No, he said do 100 of them.
Yeah.
Throw them away. Don't, you know, like, and then he said at the end of the 100, you will have learned somewhat what you're doing. And I kind of take that approach, you know, if I get to a certain point on it, I don't like it, I just wad it up and throw it away and start over. So, the medium that I'm using, not exclusively, but the medium I'm using mostly are watercolor crayons and watercolor pencils. And I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Yeah, not with watercolor crayons, but I've used watercolor pencils before.
Same thing.
Yeah.
It's just you get a lot more, you know, it's a crayon.
Yeah, more texture maybe.
Yeah, and yeah, you can just lay a lot more pigment down, and then I go back in with water and brushes, and I loosen them back up. And then the other thing that I use, and this is my big secret, but I'll go ahead and share it. But I found this substance called clear gesso, and I'd never heard of it before. Gesso to me had always been this white, you know, acrylic, whatever. And but clear gesso, basically, you can cover up the work in progress, and it completely seals it. Unlike a workable fixative,
yeah,
it gives you a new tooth to work on in terms of the
that's cool.
Surface of the paper, the canvas, and you can literally just start over. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it really is. It's really changed my life especially in terms of these smaller watercolor type pieces, and it.
Yeah, really. You know, it's funny because, you know, like for years, you know, since I've met you, I've been I love your photography. Just these lot of beautiful photos of these women and just amazing poses, and the lighting and the colors. A lot of your photography to me looks like paintings, and I'm just like, wow. I mean, that's like just so amazing looking. And then all of a sudden, I see you do a post. You're like, oh, I'm fiddling on with this new thing, and then you start posting these. I'm like, and these are so cool. And it's like, and what I like about this work is that there's something original feeling about it. There's just something, you know, like this piece here. I'm imagining these are kind of small pieces, but like this, like, sorry, what were you gonna say?
Not awfully small. They're like that piece right there is probably about 11 by 14.
Oh, okay. Like when I look at this, like if this, like I could see this piece in like, you know, like in like the impression section at a museum if it was like 6 feet tall. You know what I mean? Like there's something about what you're doing here that I think is really interesting and intriguing, because, you know, it's like you're capturing realism, but it's not like photorealistic. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's what I like about it, is because, it's not easy to do that. Like you're doing a very awesome impression, but it comes across feeling very real and alive, even though, I mean, I can almost count the strokes on there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thanks so much, man.
Yeah, I love it, man. And I've got, this one's cool too. There's just something about, I mean, here's the thing. This is what I said at the very beginning. One thing I love about you as a person is that you're an artist through and through. You every single medium that you do, the reason this is so awesome is because of your eye and your aesthetic. Like you probably, I've told people before too, like, that I think any real artist could take like a piece of cardboard and chew on a stick so it gets all mushy, and then get some mud and do something on it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I think that's what I'm seeing with what you do, is that you can just take any medium and just go somewhere with it. It's awesome.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks.
Like, what's that quote? I think it's a John Lennon quote where he was like, "Give me a tuba and I'll make it sing, or I'll write a song with it," or something. I can't remember what the quote is, but basically, I think what he was saying was, I'm a real artist and musician. You can give me an instrument I've never played on before, and I can do something with it.
Right.
So
I remember they did ask him one time what he thought music would be like, 50 years from now, and he said, well, there's the same number of notes.
Yeah.
God knows what they'll be playing those notes on, but those same notes will still exist.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
That was kind of interesting. Yeah.
Who is this piece of this, or who is this person? Sorry.
I don't know. A lot of the most of the people that are in these photographs are long gone, and there are people that I have no clue who they are. My mom and dad are gone, and so I choose an image I like, and I paint them. And if they're anonymous, they have to remain anonymous.
It's cool, man. I like it a lot. This is an awesome piece too. It's pretty cool.
That's my dad when he was in the Boy Scouts, I guess.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
Now, is this one actually painted on top of a photo?
It is painted on top of a photo.
Oh, that's cool. That's an awesome idea as well. That's a really cool mix of medium. That's really cool.
I do that on occasion. In fact, that piece was kind of under progress. I think I completed the rest of it by the end of it. But yeah,
that's cool.
I doubt if there were many pink houses.
That's awesome though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm digging it, man. This is a really cool. I just think it's a really cool style. Now I grabbed a couple of your photos off your website too, but just wanted to show a few people just because I just love, like you always have really awesome lighting and everything. One thing I had a question about is, do you take your photo, and you don't have to tell if this is like your artistic secret. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to say shit. But I was wondering as well, like you always have like some amazing coloring, like the green coming in. Now, what I was wondering, is this natural like lighting, or how it actually was set up, or do you go in and do added things in Photoshop to like get some of that coloring?
A little bit of all of the above. I don't set up photographs. I kind of create this environment that I put a model into.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I like this light, go stand over there. That's about as deep as my direction gets.
Mm.
And I've been lucky enough to work with these incredible models that they really get my work. They look at my work and they're like, oh, I see. But then I do skew colors. I I don't do retouch. I don't go in, and outline the outdoors and make it blue or whatever. It's more like putting filters on the overall image, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, no, that's awesome. That's why I was like, a lot of your photos just feel like paintings to me. They're really just awesome. I love right, and like the light hitting her hip and her arm there in that one spot is just really cool.
I've heard that a lot, and I've really debated why that is. There's a couple of things going on. One is my house is well over 100 years old. The glass is well over 100 years old, and the glass, frankly, is dirty. So all of the light that comes through is diffused.
Yeah,
it's soft light that comes through, and then
that's awesome.
So that's part of it.
That's really cool.
The second part of it, I had a French film crew rented my house for a couple of weeks to do a feature-length movie in it, and the director of photography came over to me at the end of the shoot and said, "Don't ever wash your windows."
That's awesome.
The light is magic.
See, that's adding to the legend of your house. Your house is like kind of like your artistic partner,
Oh, it pretty much is, yeah. And
this is awesome too.
Oh, thanks. That's my backyard. That's I found out about this native plant that grows in Tennessee called a big leaf magnolia. Not a very creative name, but leaves are literally that large.
That's crazy.
As are the flowers. They're monstrous. And so anyway, that was, me and a friend, we just kind of got in the backyard and played around, and this arch of kudzu that I had growing.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I really like the background as well. The top right corner, how the plants are like, it almost looks like a photo from like the 1920s or something.
Yeah.
Like there's something about it that just has that feeling. It's really cool.
Thanks.
This one is awesome too. I love this to me, again, I hate to keep saying the same thing, but to me, it's like a painting, and to be honest, I'm a fan of really good photography, but I'm not into it so much so that I'm familiar with who's who really in the photography world. I know a few photographers that are amazing, but most photography that I see of like nudes and different things are just, they don't really get my attention because they just look like, art school photography or something. Yeah. But that's what I like about what you're doing is this looks like this would be fun to paint, and this would be a great painting. You know what I mean? Like it has everything that a really awesome painting has, It's just awesome, man. I really, really like it a lot.
I kind of wandered into photography late in life, my background in graphic arts and commercial design and all that stuff. And I art directed literally 100 photographers in my life. And I'd kind of gotten to the point where I was burnt out on, got to the point I didn't like photography very much, and I liked photographers even less. And
yeah.
they just seemed kind of overinflated, and And
well,
then
it's got to be crazy too when now everyone thinks they're a photographer because they carry around an iPhone, and everyone's got their filters and all that kind of stuff.
And some are. I mean, that's the thing, I don't ever diss a tool, iPhones as legitimate as a tool is what I carry, but
that's true.
What happened to me was like a friend of mine from Wisconsin. Her girlfriend had moved down, and at a party one night at the house, she was a little drunk. She was like, "Oh, I want you to take naked pictures of me." And I was like, I don't do that stuff, like if you talk to your boyfriend and she was like, oh, he's all about it. So we decided to give it a shot. And it actually came out really well. And I enjoyed the process of shooting. The creative demand of shooting photographs is like the creative demand of anything else we do on steroids. It's like you have an idea, you go click, and the idea's done. So then it's like the muse says, okay, now what? And so part of it, I was using it as I had gotten older as this way to stimulate my creative drive. And then I started realizing I was getting some decent images out of it, images I liked, and then I realized also that so many photographers spend maybe their whole life trying to find a voice in their work, and I already had a voice. My voice was in sculpture and painting, and where not everybody could connect the dots between my photography and my sculpture and my painting, I can, and actually, some knowledgeable art historians and stuff can connect those as well. So like, I didn't have that struggle of like, what am I going to shoot?
Yeah.
I just I created this kind of fun environment, and I made friends with the models, and we just got in there, and I'll always acknowledge their contribution to the photographs because they're easily half in, and just started shooting a lot of photographs, and probably shot literally tens of thousands of photographs over about a 3-year period, and I'm on a hiatus at least right now. I'm kind of overshooting photographs, some painting, and
well, that's good. That's good to. I mean, I think as artists, we got it. Like I'm starting to dabble into a few different other types of things just for myself creatively that I want to, try out and push myself in. I think it's a good thing as an artist.
I do too.
You did. I have some pictures of your sculptures as well. Now these sculptures that you did, are these all around Nashville?
That is in a park in north of town called Bordeaux. In 2010, there was a flood in Nashville. It was pretty significant flood, and at some point they decided to do 5 sculptures in parks that had really taken it pretty hard. And I was chosen to do one of those, and it was an all African American neighborhood. And when I realized, I went to the community center and interviewed all of these people that lived in the community, and found out that these women primarily had kind of lifted this community up. It was much to my disappointment. The Red Cross was late getting in there. FEMA was late getting in there into these all-black neighborhoods, and these sorts of things that you hope are over with aren't.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. And but the beautiful thing was that these women did it all themselves. They found a place. They got clothes contributed. They like handed out food and clothes to people in need, and found them housing, and so my whole idea, and this is unfinished, the image that you have right now, but the whole image was this black woman rising from the earth. She's actually on a kind of a hill where they rose above.
Wow, that's awesome.
The situation, and
that's really cool. That's a powerful piece. It's awesome.
That is a huge piece. She's 11 feet from hairline to neck.
Oh, wow.
And one of the things I wanted to do is I wanted it to be, shut up. I wanted it to be a part of the playground. You know, I wanted kids to be able to climb on it safely, and so that went into the design of it as well. It was like no sharp edges, you know, like places where they could literally slide down the neck or slide down their nose. And
yeah, that's awesome.
so I wanted to make it something they could play on as well as it be a piece of art. So,
and now what is this? What did you sculpt it from? I mean, is this one big original piece, or is this like a cast based off of another piece that you? Like, how did?
It is an original piece. I didn't have the budget to make an original and cast it. The mold itself would have been the entire budget.
Yeah. Okay.
I carved it from styrofoam, sheets of styrofoam glued together, and then I cut it about 4 inches under surface, and then hand applied. I used concrete with fiber. Instead of water, it was mixed with the polymer, so to make it water impervious. And then, because we freeze here, and then which would crack it up, and then varying degrees of glass fibers that I put in there that eliminated the need for rebar. So,
wow,
yeah,
that's quite the process.
It was quite the process.
So how heavy was it?
It weighed about 2.5 tons.
Oh, what the heck?
Yeah.
Jesus, that's crazy.
And it had to be secure, and even she had a styrofoam core. So, I mean, I had to get engineered. You know, it's red tape when you're dealing with the city. So I had an engineer sign off on it, and I had to secure it deeply into the ground because he said, even though it's concrete, if a flood hits again, it will float away. So.
Oh my gosh.
So she's anchored pretty severely into the ground.
That's crazy awesome. That's really cool, man. This is a cool piece too. How big is this piece?
She's small. She's about I'm going to say about 18 inches tall.
Oh, okay.
And it was really funny enough. I did a series of smokers at some point, and I had this leftover mahogany from bases that I'd made, so I decided to make this little chair, and then decided to put a figure on it. So
yeah, it's such a cool, again, like I just like you got so much unique style, you know. It's awesome. There's so much character into it. I mean, I just love like what is she made from? What's the, like, is it like a plaster or
terracotta? She was made in clay and fired in a kiln.
Oh, okay. So I love like the textures on it. It almost looks like fingerprints and different things. It's so cool. That's awesome.
Thanks.
That's awesome. Yeah, let's see here. And that's the same kind of technique for this one?
Yes, I think so.
That's pretty awesome too.
Let me get my glasses on. Yeah, she was probably terracotta. I did make a mold from her and made a couple of casts, but considering she's on a work table, I'm going to assume she's terracotta. It's kind of hard to tell.
That's awesome, though. I love it. And then there's this sculpture, which I saw, or I'll go back to this one. But this one here, it looks like it's some kind of a park.
Yes.
And what was the technique with this one? Was this clay and then bronzed, or how does I'm not as familiar with sculpture, so I'm not really sure, but it looks awesome, man.
She was made. There was a Civil War figure in Nashville. Her name's Adelicia Acklin, and ironically, I live on Acklin Avenue, which was named after her. But she has a pretty incredible Civil War story, in that she owned Belmont College. I don't know if you've heard of that, but that was her home place here. And so I was hired to do a portrait of her. Unfortunately, there were only 2 paintings of her as an older woman that existed. So I just kind of had to make it up, frankly.
Yeah.
Victorian age, they could only bare their shoulders when they were maidens. Once they were married, they had to go, wear garments all the way to the neck. So I wanted her to be a little bit sexy. So
yeah,
I made her younger, and but that was she was into. I had a metal, aluminum and welded steel armature, and then I used an oil-based clay to render her, and then sent her to the foundry, and they literally make molds in pieces. They can't. That's too large to cast whole, so they cast it in pieces, and then weld it together.
Oh wow!
Yeah, they have to get welding, rods or whatever that are the exact same alloy as the cast metal, so nothing shows.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It seems like how long did it take to do that?
Unbelievably, I completed that whole thing in about 3 months.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But it was because it was for a developer. It wasn't going into a private collection. It was going to a developer, and this guy was a hard ass. He was like, "This is the deadline, and every day you miss costs you $1,000." So, so I met it.
Yeah, that's crazy, Jesus.
Yeah.
So, what's this sculpture here? This is another awesome one.
This was a disrobing figure I did. Joe Galante, who runs RCA Records, that was his new home, and they contracted me to do this larger than life size figure. And what you can't really tell from the photograph is she's disrobing. She's dropping a robe, and from the house you see her back and shoulders and the robe. So my intent was I wanted to force people to walk around the front of the statue.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
By putting the more interesting parts for me anyway around the front.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And she's a big girl, man. Her hips are probably, she's probably 6'5". She's a big girl.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's so cool. It's something that I've always loved sculpture, but I've never really dabbled in it, so it's interesting. I love I don't know what this one's for either, but this was pretty cool.
That's the Adelicia piece. It's just
that's the beginning stages of it. Yeah,
it's just the clay. Yeah.
Yeah. There's something about this too. I like. I love just like the I guess the grit of, you can see like the carving with your hands and in the hair and the clothing. There's such a nice I don't know. I know it probably got smoothed out a lot more towards the end, but
No.
it has like a really cool feel to it. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
no, it stayed very much like it is. Yeah.
But yeah, that's awesome. Like what kind of things are you working on right now? Like what?
Mainly, I've been working with these family photo things. That's
Yeah.
kind of my thing right now. It's just been it's I don't know, it's just a new thing, and it's all these people are like, oh, can you do my family photo? And I'm like, it depends on how shitty your family photo is. Like, you know, I have thousands of photos to choose from that are like, you know,
Yeah.
awesome.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah. Why do I want to paint your family? I got thousands of my own family. Yeah.
right. And I'd be glad to, but just don't bring me something from Walmart,
That's awesome. You know, that one year where I came down for New Year's, and you know, Corey, like it was like Corey. I don't know if it was just him that set it up, but it was at your place, right? It was like a garage. Is that still a studio space? Is that where you work from, or do something? Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, that place was awesome. That was a crazy night, man. Like I had no idea. Like Corey invited me to come down, went down there, and there wasn't that many of us there. And then all of a sudden, the friggin' Alabama Shakes show up and start playing, and I'm like, "What the heck's happening? This is crazy cool." It was so awesome. But
life, man, it's so crazy.
Yeah, that was an awesome night. Yeah, I remember. There was a bunch of bands that played that were really good. And then all of a sudden she's on stage and I'm like, wait a minute. Is that Britney? Like what the heck? And then
was it New Year's or Halloween?
It was New Year's. Yeah.
Oh, it was in the tent, that big, huge.
It was like a shed type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Corey said that he was practicing in there or something, or Kings of Leon practiced there or something like that.
Yeah. Oh man, it was crazy.
Yeah, that was an awesome night. I did not
got turned off the stage. You know who Sturgill is?
Oh yeah.
He was like, I want to do a gig, and they were like, no, I don't think so. And now people are like, you turned Sturgill Simpson down. I was like, I didn't. Yeah. We had the Weeks and Bucky Baxter, the Bob Dylan guy, had a.
Oh yeah, that's right. He played. I remember that too.
Had his band and Raylan, and it was quite a night.
Yeah, that was cool, man. I had no idea. That was the first time I met you, and I had no idea. And that's when I started hearing about your house. but yeah, but that was really fun. I mean, we just it was really random because Corey just said, he's like, hey, you want to come to this New Year's thing we're gonna have down in Nashville? And I was like, oh, that sounds fun. And so my wife and I had no idea all these awesome artists were going to be there. So that was really cool. And I think you had a bunch of paintings in there. I was checking out, hanging up in there too.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I did. Forgot about that.
Yeah,
we had fun, man. That was the only one we ever did, but it cost us a fortune to throw the party.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was crazy. That was really cool though. There was like Corey's guys made a bunch of I think they're making like homemade chili and stuff like that. And then they they had microbrewery there. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Jason Leslie's crew. That was probably the best New Year's party I've ever been to. Period.
It was legendary. People around here are still like, you gonna do that again? I was like, no, man. Write us a check for $5,000 and we'll talk about it. But
yeah, that was cool. So what's your, when you do the large stuff, what do you prefer to do? Oil, yeah.
Yeah, I've never worked with acrylic. I don't know it. I just got used to it in college, and I just never looked back. I like just like the color of it. I like I don't know. I like to make things run and turpentine and.
Yeah. I that's the same thing with me. Like for when I taught myself how to paint, and my first medium was watercolor, and I used that for years, and it was because like it's funny. A lot of people think that watercolor is like super difficult and like that's the hardest medium. To me, it's the easiest medium in the world.
Yeah.
And I liked it because I could start off transparent and thin, and just I could be safe and slowly build up my layers. And as long as I could be cautious, I could let the drips happen and everything else, but I could control it. Whereas I felt like, acrylics and opaque mediums at the time were so overwhelming to me. I just didn't understand it.
Right.
But once I started getting painting, I went from watercolor to acrylic, because acrylic, you can thin it like watercolors, and you can kind of work the same way and then slowly build up the confidence to be opaque. That's kind of how I taught myself.
Yeah.
And then I painted with acrylics for years, and had this like, even though I was using it, I hated it. Like it's just so frustrating of a medium for I felt like anyways, because it dries so fast, and I hate how it dries darker than what you put down.
Yeah.
And you have to keep going over things and building, and but then I've had a few paintings that the end result, man, wow, that's really awesome. It looks really cool. But then when I started messing around with oils, I basically haven't turned back. I mean, I've done a couple acrylic things. When I started working with oils, it was just like, come on, there's so much more you can do with it, and it's like you put down a color, that's the color, and for the most part, anyways. But yeah, and I've gotten to the point now, like this last oil painting that I just finished, I really feel like I'm starting to like, really have a voice with it now, my own voice. Someone is entering.
Somebody just came in. Oh, hey. It's my son.
That's awesome. But yeah, I finally feel like, I like almost in a way, I feel like I'm rediscovering myself artistically, where I'm starting to feel like my voice is changing a little bit, like my brush work, and to me, it's exciting after years of painting to like continue to like grow, and change and evolve. And I look at it differently, and I realized in this last painting that I was doing that something in my mind changed. Like, I don't know what it is, but all of a sudden I just started painting differently than I ever had before. And then I noticed when I came back to do my digital paintings for editorial work, I was painting differently with that too. It's like something just changed. You know what I mean? It's awesome. I don't really know how or what changed exactly, but I feel different,
I've never made the shift. Whenever I've tried to, I feel as clumsy as I do going from Macintosh to PC, like.
Yeah.
I'm so like, I've worked with Macintosh since Macintosh was a thing.
Yeah. Cool. We're back. So sorry, what were you saying about Macintosh? You're talking about the Mac, like when it was the little like beige box with the rainbow apple. Yeah, I remember back in the day. Yeah.
And it's just like I've always worked on Macs, and then like I compared changing from oil painting to acrylic as the same as trying to change from Mac to PC. It's like I just feel like it's too much work.
Yeah. No, it's weird. Like my dad, he's an artist as well, and all growing up, that's what he used was acrylics. And so that's kind of naturally why I went towards acrylics. But then about, maybe 20 years or so ago, he started getting into oil, and he never looked back either. So now all he does is oil painting, and he's pretty damn good at it too. It's pretty awesome. But yeah, the one thing I like about oil painting is that there's so many things that you can do with it. There's never going to be a shortage of ways to grow as an artist and ways to explore the medium. It's just nonstop. I don't think you can ever fully grasp what you could do with it.
I agree.
Yeah, it's I can't wait to there's a bunch of paintings that I want to do that I have like been stuck in my head for a while. But like every time I get ready to try to work on it, I get a job that I can't turn down. So I end up working on all this other stuff, and then like all the paintings I really want to do are just like in my head yelling at me like, come on.
I can't remember this artist's name. They interviewed him one time, and he was a Polish guy, and they asked him. They said, "Do you ever have a shortage of ideas?" And he said, "My brain is like the crowded waiting room in a doctor's office." He said,
Yeah.
there's ideas pacing around, waiting on their fucking turn.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah,
out.
exactly. That's
Like,
exactly what it feels like. No,
yeah,
that's exactly what it feels like.
yeah.
That's hilarious. Well, I as you know before we continue, there's a lot of artists that like fans that did drawings of you, so I want to show those to you in a second.
Okay.
But before I do that, I want to make an announcement real quick to anybody listening to this. It's a little fun thing I'm starting to do with the podcast. So the first person to subscribe to my YouTube channel and answer this question correctly will win 1 free year subscription to the Adobe Creative Cloud. You've got to listen to this podcast basically to get this. So you got to listen to the right episode as well. So here's the question. Which one of my past guests got to work with Stan Winston, and what did this person work on? And specifically, what film or films did they do the work for? Okay. Hopefully that made sense. And just leave your answer in the comments under this video on YouTube and email me at facethetruthpodcast@gmail.com. So easy enough. So good luck with that. All right. So there's a bunch of fans that did some work, some drawings and paintings of you. So I want to show you because I think you're going to get a kick out of it.
Okay.
So let me know if you see this. You got it?
I got it.
So this is awesome. This is by Jared Hobson. So
Awesome.
yeah, you know what's really cool about this piece? I mean, I think he did a really good job with the likeness and everything. But this is a digital painting he did on an iPad, and I don't know if he intended to do this or not, or if it's just a happy accident. But that the upper right side of the image, there's that lighter brush stroke there with the texture.
Yeah.
It almost makes it look like it's a wet oil painting, and the camera is catching a glare. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I saw when I first looked at it, and I'm like, I don't know. I wonder if he did that on purpose, or it just happens to feel that way. It's kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. There's a few in here that I think are really cool. This is an interesting one. This is by Asmadi Abullah.
Nice.
A scribble sketch.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Interesting.
And this one is by Lars Erik Robinson, and he did another one that's like really lighter version of the close up, but he did this one as well. But I decided to share this one because I like that there was 2 different sketches of you in there.
Right. All the cigarettes. It's so funny. I quit smoking last year, so it's like funny.
Yeah, that
awesome.
is. Yeah, have you heard Robert Ellis's new record, the Texas Piano Man?
I've heard little pieces of it, but not the whole thing.
It's really fucking good. Like he's got one song, Nobody Smokes Anymore. It's hilarious. It's like nobody smokes anymore, and it's I can't remember. One of the lines is really funny. It's just like, I guess I'm the only one that's gonna look cool in pictures.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a great album. Shout out to Robert Ellis. This piece, I love this piece by Jordan Martin.
The tits.
Yeah, surrounded by boobs. Oh, the memories that we share together.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
it looks like I could see this totally animated, and all this like the background is just kind of like moving around.
Right.
So cool. I like this style too. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, they do.
This is a cool piece too. This is by Renan Rocha Boards.
That's great.
Look very serious. Definitely got your eyes down there.
Yeah, definitely.
It's cool. This one is Laurent Grasat did this one. It's pretty cool. Can you see it pretty good, or do you need to?
Oh yeah.
You can see it good. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. This one's pretty cool too. This is by Julia Wolf.
Oh, that's more of a portrait. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool style.
Beautiful. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
This is cool too. This is by Helen Arini.
Right.
I think I said that wrong, but I'm trying to say the names right. It's hard to know how to say these names right sometimes, but yeah, this is pretty cool too. I like it.
Yeah.
This is a funny one. This is by Dustin Clark.
Right. I'm not sure who that looks like, but it's like, that's funny.
The funny thing about like this one to me is, even though you can't see your lower half, because of the way the arms are, it looks like you're holding yourself because you have to pee or something.
Right. It's just kind of true right now. So
that's awesome.
Lies.
This one's funny too. This is like Dominic Zeilinger.
Sitting on camera.
The thinking man.
Right.
It's pretty funny. This one's by Michael Crotty.
Awesome.
Cool. Yeah, it's interesting. I always love, I have no idea who, who's going to send in or what they're going to do, but it's always interesting to see everyone's different takes on somebody.
Right.
This is kind of cool too. This is by Leighton Scarborough. Interesting style.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
This was by Kiko Yamada.
I love
it. Yeah. That's pretty awesome, man.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I love the mouth.
I do too. I love the mouth. Pretty awesome.
This is a drawing by Steph Ayers.
Yeah.
Cool. This one pretty badass. In this one is by Fernando Mendez.
Yeah.
You got a little James Jean going on there.
Yeah, I recognize that photo.
Or James Dean, sorry, not James Jean. James Dean.
That's so good, dude. Oh, this is good. That's good.
This is by Jason Church.
I love the ashes.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's like longer than the actual cigarette.
Yeah. So
and this is by my buddy Grieger. This is the one I told you might have met Mild Music.
Oh, okay. Is he the one you asked me what kind of camera you use?
Yeah. He wanted to do wanted to make sure he painted the right camera in there. Oh. But yeah, this is pretty cool. I think he did this on an iPad as well. Nice. But yeah, you should definitely check out. He was my guest on a couple episodes ago, and we filmed in his studio, and you can see some of his work. I think you really dig what he does. Cool. So he's an amazing painter. But yeah, I love this piece.
Copies of those?
Yeah. No, I'll email them to you. Yeah. Oh. So yeah, isn't that cool? It's really funny. I had Robert Ellis on like a few months ago, and I went to the green room. He was playing a show, and I went in Chicago, and I went to his green room, and one of the drawings I showed him, he literally almost fell off his piano bench when I showed him. It's pretty funny. the guy, yeah, like he was sitting on a piano bench in the green room, and I was showing him the drawings on an iPad. So, right. And I mean, he laughed so hard. It's really funny. Awesome. I love the reactions.
Yeah, man. It's so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah, this is awesome, man. So you're continuing to work on those other pieces, like the photos. Are you planning on doing like some kind of an exhibit with them, or right now are you just kind of just playing around?
I haven't really made any plans yet. I kind of got I was hibernating through the winter, and these were things I could kind of do in my bedroom without spreading out too far. And yeah. And then I got I don't know, probably another dozen prep ready to go. So as soon as I get my studio up and running through the spring, I'll probably jump out there and work with oils more so than
Yeah.
the pastels. So
Yeah. Well, I'm just trying to make an excuse to come down to Nashville.
Yeah.
I gotta come down. Yeah, I gotta try to get down there. It's been a while. I love it though. It's really cool. It's definitely, things have been different now that I have another baby. Trying to figure things out. So, but yeah, man, this has been really cool. Thank you so much for doing this and being a part of this, man. This is awesome. Had a good time talking with you. Are you do you have anything that before we get going, is there anything that you want to like promote or
I don't have anything planned. I'm planning on a trip to Appleton in the next month or so. Just once the
cool.
weather breaks up there, and just kind of hang out there and do a little work, and that's about it.
You're gonna go up to the refuge and do some painting and stuff, some artwork. Oh man,
Yeah.
Let me know when you go up there. Maybe I can come up there sometime. It would be awesome. Yeah, cool, man. Well, what's your Instagram and stuff so people can follow you?
My Instagram is Buddy Made It.
Okay.
And my email is the same. It's buddymadeit@gmail.com.
Awesome.
Cool. BUDDYMADEIT.
Awesome. Buddy made it.
That's
awesome. Well, thanks again, man. And this was really, really cool. We'll definitely have to do this again sometime, man.
Yeah, man.
Awesome.
Let's hang out when there's not a camera around.
Yes, for sure.
Love you, brother.
All right. Love you too, man.
See you, man.